Okay, so today doing a rear wheel seal on a 2001 Chevy S10. This truck has the 7.6 rear end 10 bolt. Okay, so how do I know that I have a 7.5 or 7.6 rear end? Well, an easy way to tell is the bottom of the diff here. You see these like points? And it's kind of got a shape here. That is the 7.5 to 7.6 rear end. The 8.5s will have a squared off area here. It's really noticeable. So that's how I know I have a 7.6 rear end and not an 8.5. And I'm doing a brake job right now. You don't have to take all your brakes out to do a wheel seal, but I'm just doing it at the same time. We got to take the axle out. The wheel seal is back here. This thing was covered in grease inside and outside, so that's how I know it's bad. In order to get the axle out, you got to go inside the cover there and you have to release the axle. I'll show you how it's done. Okay, so I got all the bolts out of the rear diff here. I've got one still on the top side. Just going to break it open down here. Trying not to drop a whole bunch of rust in my rear end. They got these stupid so once you get that cover off, there's a small bolt right there. You got to take that out, and it's retaining this shaft right here. Once you get this bolt out, this shaft will come out. Oh, this thing is tight. It's 8mm. There we go. I just got it. Used my 1/4 inch. Then I used a big wrench to get it. It come out here. It's loose now. Okay, so I got my bolt pulled out. Okay, gotta rotate it so you can get this shaft out. Once you get this shaft out, you can push on the axle and pull the clip out. Okay, so you're gonna go ahead and push the axle in a little bit. I got my little magnet. I'm going to pull my U-clip out. The axle should slide out. There we have it, guys. So now you have access to the seal. Get yourself a seal puller. Well, try to get it out. Okay, so there's two seals for this rear end that you could possibly have with the 7/6 10 bolt. This is the one I have. This is the one I'm going to install. It is just a flush deal. This one here is, you can see it's got a flange. It's really a totally different seal. But there is a code on your rear end. Mine's so rusty I can't read it. Yours is probably rusty, you can't read it either. But I picked both these up and because I didn't know what I had. I do know I have a 7/6 10 bolt, but I didn't know if it was USA or Canadian built. Okay, so there's a look at the axle without the seal. There's the bearings in there. Make sure no crud fell in there. I like to spin them, make sure you don't hear any crunching or anything, because if you do, you've got sand or grit in there. Just make sure you don't get no dirt in there or you will destroy them. Anytime I ever have access to bearings like this, I like to take a little bit of Lucas and I'll get them all coated with that. Lucas is a great oil, it sticks really well, so it's going to help these bearings, especially once they're dry here, and it's going to probably be a while before I get it back on the ground, so the Lucas will stay stuck on there. But I've got my seal here. I'm going to stick it in here and I'm going to pound it in with a seal driver I have. Okay, so I'm going to put my seal up in place here. I'm going to try to get it nice and centered. You can hear the tone change when you bottomed out on that seal. So there we have it, nice and even all the way around. Okay, I'm going to reinstall my axle. Remember to lube up your seal good, and when you're sliding it in here, don't tear up your seal with your axle. Try not to slide your axle on the axle tube either. You want to slide it back far enough that you can get your little clip in. Okay, so I pushed my axle in far enough I can put my little C-clip back into the axle. Push my axle back out, and there we go. Okay, so once you get all your seals done and your axle's back in place, take your pin this side. This is where your bolt is going to go through on the top and lock it in. You want to slide it back in. You're going to have to rotate your axle so you can get access to this bolt that locks it in. Pull that bolt out, push your pin in place, slide make sure that's facing the right way so the pin, there we go. Then you tighten down that little bolt that you had to loosen up to get that shaft out. Rotate it out so you can actually get to it with a wrench. Okay, so recommended torque on this they're calling it a lock bolt, is 25 foot-pounds. You're going to have a hard time getting a torque wrench in this thing. So I'm just going to do it the best I can with the room that I have here. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Obviously, you got to put your cover back on. You're going to want to clean your sealing surfaces and get a new gasket or some RTV, whatever you prefer. I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to clean out my rear end here, get it nice and clean, and kind of inspect everything while I got the cover off. You don't take the cover off these very often, so everything looks good right now, but I'm just going to clean it off, look at it. And this calls for 2 quarts of 80/90 gear oil, GL5. About 2 quarts. You want to make sure you top it off or whatever. That's an about estimate. But make sure you put fluid in it before you take off, or you ruin everything you just did. That's going to do it, guys, for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Maybe you learned something. I'll see you in the next one.